It is 3:55 a.m. The Western Pacific Ocean, 680 nautical miles east of the Chinese coastline, in water so deep and so dark that the pressure at the seafloor could crush a submarine hull like a paper cup. The sky above is overcast, a high, thin layer of cirrus that blocks the stars without quite constituting cloud cover. The kind of sky that makes thermal imaging satellites work harder and gives everyone operating beneath it a vague institutional awareness that they are being watched from above, even if they cannot see what is watching. The sea state is 3. Swells of 1.5 meters, long and regular, driven by a weather system tracking northeast from the Philippine Sea. The wind is light from the south. It is a quiet night by every measure, except the one that matters. Somewhere inside a hardened facility buried 80 meters beneath a limestone ridge in Qinghai Province, a duty officer of the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force is reading a targeting update that arrived 4 minutes ago from a Beidou navigation satellite relay, cross-corroborated by data from a Type 903 maritime patrol aircraft that has been orbiting at 28,000 feet over the Western Pacific for the last 3 hours and 20 minutes. The update contains a set of coordinates. Those coordinates represent the calculated position of USS Theodore Roosevelt, CVN-71, at the time the satellite data was collected, 11 minutes ago, accounting for transmission delay and processing time. The targeting officer enters the update into his fire control system. He does not need to do anything else. The missiles will do the rest. The missiles in question are DF-21D ballistic missiles, designated by NATO as the CSS-5 Mod 5, described by Chinese state media as the world's first anti-ship ballistic missile, and by various Western analysts as a potential carrier killer. The DF-21D is a road-mobile, medium-range ballistic missile with a claimed range of approximately 1,500 kilometers, a maneuvering re-entry vehicle warhead, and a terminal guidance system that Chinese engineers designed to find and hit a moving aircraft carrier. Beijing has spent considerable resources and even more considerable propaganda bandwidth promoting the DF-21D as the weapon that changes the strategic calculus of carrier operations in the Pacific. The missile that makes a supercarrier not a symbol of American power projection, but a target. This claim is not insane. The DF-21D is a real weapon. It is mobile, which makes it difficult to preemptively strike. It is fast, re-entry speeds approaching Mach 10 in the terminal phase. Its maneuvering warhead is designed to complicate the intercept geometry for missile defense systems. And the concept of operations behind it, the anti-access/area denial architecture that Chinese military strategists call the assassin's mace, is a genuinely serious attempt to leverage China's geographic position, its land-based strike assets, and its growing surveillance network to deny American carriers the ability to operate freely within the first island chain and potentially well beyond it. But a missile is not a capability. A missile is a component of a capability. And a capability is only as effective as the system it operates within. The sensors that find the target, the data links that pass the targeting solution, the command architecture that authorizes the launch, the warhead that survives re-entry, the terminal seeker that finds a moving ship in a contested electromagnetic environment, and the ship itself, which is not a stationary warehouse, but a 100,000-ton weapon system, surrounded by a defensive architecture that the people who built it specifically designed to defeat this exact threat. Let us talk about what the DF-21D actually needs to work. First, it needs to know where the carrier is. This sounds obvious. It is, operationally, the hardest part of the problem. An aircraft carrier moves. At 30 knots, the speed Roosevelt is capable of sustaining, she covers a nautical mile every 2 minutes. Between the time a satellite takes an image, transmits it, processes it, converts it to targeting coordinates, enters those coordinates into a fire control system, and the missile flies its trajectory to the target area, a carrier can move 40, 50, 60 nautical miles from the position that started the targeting chain. The DF-21D's maneuvering warhead has a terminal seeker, an active radar, and possibly an infrared sensor, designed to find the ship in the target area during the terminal phase. The seeker's search radius is classified, but based on open-source analysis of the system's guidance requirements, it is finite. It is not unlimited. If the carrier moves far enough from the predicted position, or if the terminal seeker is jammed, or if the electromagnetic environment in the target area is hostile enough, the warhead cannot find what it is looking for. Second, the surveillance network has to work. The Beidou satellite that provided tonight's targeting update passed over the carrier's position 11 minutes ago. The Type 903 maritime patrol aircraft that cross-corroborated the position is doing so at 28,000 feet with a synthetic aperture radar that generates useful imagery, but that has an easily detectable emission signature. Both of these assets are known. Both of them are being tracked, and the people tracking them are doing something about it. At 3:41 a.m., 14 minutes before the targeting officer in Qinghai received his update, USS Theodore Roosevelt's E-2D Advanced Hawkeye detected the Type 903 maritime patrol aircraft at a range of 340 nautical miles. The E-2D's AN/APY-9 radar does not miss much. A propeller-driven maritime patrol aircraft orbiting at altitude is not a subtle contact. Within 3 minutes of detection, the contact had been classified, its orbit pattern mapped, its radar emission profile logged, and the information distributed through Link 16 to every ship and aircraft in the strike group. Roosevelt's Combat Information Center knew the surveillance aircraft was there. They knew what it was looking at. And they knew, with the institutional certainty of a carrier strike group that has been operating in this precise threat environment for 23 days, exactly what the Chinese surveillance architecture intended to do with that information. The strike group commander, a vice admiral with 31 years of naval aviation experience and a subspecialty in ballistic missile defense that is unusual for an aviator, was in the CYC at 3:44 a.m. He had been there since 3:30 when the watch team flagged the E-2D's contact report. He looked at the tactical picture for a long moment. He looked at the Type 903's orbit. He looked at the satellite pass timing. The Beidou constellation's coverage geometry had been plotted by the intelligence officer since the previous day. He knew approximately when the last useful satellite image of the strike group's position had been taken. He knew what the targeting officer, in whatever hardened facility was working this problem, believed the carrier's position to be. And he knew exactly how far from that position he was going to be when the missiles arrived, if they were coming, which his assessment said they were. come to new course 270, he said. Increase to 28 knots. The order was calm. It was quiet. It was the kind of order that sounds, to anyone who does not understand what it means, like a routine navigation instruction. What it was, operationally, was the beginning of a deliberate maneuver to break the targeting solution. Roosevelt was turning west, toward the threat, counterintuitively, because west takes her across the axis of the DF-21D's likely approach corridor rather than away from it, and a cross-axis movement is harder to predict than a long-axis movement. The new course, combined with 28 knots of speed, would move the carrier approximately 14 nautical miles from her current position in 30 minutes. And the key variable is that the direction of that movement is unpredictable to the targeting system that is currently building a fire control solution based on the last confirmed position. At 3:49 a.m., 2 FA-18G Growlers launched from Roosevelt's flight deck. The EA-18G Growler is the most capable airborne electronic warfare platform in the world. It carries the AN/ALQ-99 Tactical Jamming System, a system that can blanket the electromagnetic spectrum in ways that make life extremely unpleasant for any radar-guided terminal seeker trying to find a ship in a contested environment. The Growlers climbed to 28,000 feet and established an orbit between the strike group and the bearing from which ballistic missile threats from the Chinese mainland would approach. They were not in attack formation. They were jamming. A wall of electronic noise, precisely calibrated, designed to degrade the DF-21D's terminal seeker performance at the ranges and geometries where the seeker would need to operate. At 3:52 a.m., USS Lake Champlain, the Ticonderoga-class cruiser operating 14 nautical miles off Roosevelt's port beam, received the ballistic missile defense tasking from the CIC. Her AN/SPY-1D radar, already in full active mode, shifted its search parameters to optimize for ballistic missile detection. The Aegis combat system began its pre-engagement sequence. Not a weapons launch, but the system preparation that allows an SM-3 Block IIA interceptor to be employed in under 8 seconds from the moment of confirmed launch detection. Lake Champlain carries 8 SM-3 Block IIA interceptors in her vertical launch cells. Each one is capable of intercepting a ballistic missile target in the exoatmospheric midcourse phase, outside the atmosphere, above 100 kilometers altitude, where the DF-21D spends most of its flight time before the maneuvering reentry vehicle separates and begins its terminal descent. USS John Paul Jones, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer operating 22 nautical miles to the north, conducted the same transition. Her Aegis system came up to BMD mode. Her SM-3s were ready. A third BMD-capable ship, USS Fitzgerald, was 31 nautical miles to the east and also transitioning. 3 Aegis ships, all in ballistic missile defense mode simultaneously, covering overlapping sectors of the threat axis with SM-3 Block IIA interceptors capable of engaging the DF-21D in the midcourse phase, where it is predictable, where it has not yet separated its maneuvering warhead, where the physics of intercept geometry favor the defender. At 4:02 a.m., the Aegis system aboard Lake Champlain detected a launch. 2 launches, actually, within 4 seconds of each other. The detection came not from Lake Champlain's own radar, which at this range was not yet seeing the missiles above the radar horizon. but from a data uplink from the space-based infrared system, a constellation of missile warning satellites that detects ballistic missile launches by their rocket motor infrared signature within seconds of ignition. The SBIRS data was in Lake Champlain's Aegis system within 8 seconds of launch detection. The Aegis computer began its midcourse track, projecting the missile's trajectories forward in time, calculating intercept solutions, and distributing the tracking data through the BMD network to every Aegis ship in the strike group. 2 DF-21D missiles, launched from mobile transporter erector launchers that had been positioned in a deployment area in Fujian Province, 780 nautical miles from Roosevelt's last confirmed position. At Mach 10 terminal reentry velocity, the flight time to the target area was approximately 12 minutes from launch. The Aegis system had detected them 4 minutes and 17 seconds after launch. It had 7 minutes and 43 seconds to engage them in the mid-course phase. That is not a comfortable timeline. But it is sufficient for Aegis, because Aegis was built for exactly this. The SM-3 Block IIA interceptor, developed jointly by the United States and Japan, tested against ballistic missile targets in controlled conditions, and progressively refined against increasingly realistic target profiles, has a flight time to mid-course intercept altitude that the Aegis Fire Control Team calculated as 4 minutes and 52 seconds for the optimal engagement solution. Lake Champlain fired the first SM-3 at 4:04 a.m., 2 minutes after launch detection. John Paul Jones fired the second at 4:04:31 a.m., 31 seconds later, providing a layered intercept solution that ensured redundancy in case the first missile missed. The first SM-3 left its vertical launch cell with a sound that every sailor within 500 meters felt as a physical pressure wave in the chest. It climbed at acceleration rates that make fighter jets seem leisurely, out of the atmosphere in under 90 seconds, into the exoatmospheric mid-course environment, where the DF-21D was a predictable ballistic object obeying Newtonian mechanics, rather than a maneuvering terminal seeker performing evasive maneuvers. The SM-3's kinetic kill vehicle, a refrigerator-sized interceptor that destroys its target through direct collision rather than explosive warhead, because at these closing velocities, the kinetic energy of impact is measured in hundreds of megajoules, found the first DF-21D 5 minutes and 8 seconds after launch. The collision was not visible to anyone on the surface. It happened 190 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean, in the cold dark of the upper atmosphere, in less than a millisecond. The DF-21D's re-entry vehicle ceased to exist as a coherent object. The second SM-3, fired by John Paul Jones, found the second DF-21D 22 seconds later, but the engagement was not over. Because the DF-21D's design assumes layered strikes, the doctrine is not 2 missiles. The doctrine is saturation. The idea being that if you fire enough simultaneously, some will get through even a capable missile defense system. And the PLA Rocket Force's fire mission this morning was not 2 missiles. It was 2 missiles in the first salvo, intended to draw out the Aegis ship's engagement picture before the main salvo followed. The main salvo was 6 missiles, launched 3 minutes and 40 seconds after the first 2. 6 DF-21Ds, fired from 3 different mobile launcher positions in a pattern designed to complicate the Aegis intercept geometry, approaching from slightly different azimuths with slightly different re-entry trajectories in a timing sequence that attempted to saturate the BMD engagement capacity of the strike group by arriving in the terminal phase within a compressed window. The Aegis network saw them all. SBIRS detected the 6 launches within seconds. The midcourse tracks updated in every Aegis system simultaneously. The fire control solution was distributed across all 3 BMD-capable ships. Lake Champlain fired 2 more SM-3s. John Paul Jones fired 2 more. Fitzgerald, from her position 31 miles east, fired 2 SM-3s on crossing trajectories that provided intercept solutions from a different geometric angle than the other 2 ships. 6 SM-3 Block IIA interceptors against 6 DF-21D reentry vehicles in the cold, dark 150 to 200 kilometers above the Pacific in a span of 40 seconds. 5 intercepts were confirmed by SBIRS within 90 seconds of the engagement sequence. The 6th DF-21D, the last one, the trailing missile of the salvo, the one that survived the first intercept attempt, entered the upper atmosphere at 4:19 a.m. and began its terminal descent. Its maneuvering re-entry vehicle separated from the bus and activated its terminal seeker. The seeker began searching for a large surface ship in the target area. The target area was empty. USS Theodore Roosevelt was 54 nautical miles from the position the DF-21D's targeting solution had been built against. 54 nautical miles of ocean, that 28 knots and a deliberately unpredictable course change had put between the carrier and the coordinates in the Chinese fire control computer. The terminal seeker swept its search area. It found ocean. The EA-18G Growler's jamming was blanketing the frequencies the seeker relied on for its active radar mode. The seeker's search radius was finite. The carrier was outside it. The maneuvering re-entry vehicle, the technological centerpiece of China's carrier killer doctrine, the warhead that was supposed to make supercarriers obsolete, flew its terminal trajectory into the Pacific Ocean at Mach 8 and detonated against 3,000 meters of salt water. Roosevelt never changed course back to 270. She continued maneuvering at 28 knots, the unpredictable evasive pattern that the strike group commander had authorized at 3:44 a.m., and that he would maintain for another 40 minutes until the ballistic missile threat window had definitively closed. In the CIC, the watch team tracked the splashdown of the surviving warhead. The intelligence officer logged the event. Time, impact coordinates, estimated yield of the conventional warhead. The data went immediately to the classified reporting chain. In the strike group's strike planning spaces, a different process was already underway. The mobile DF-21D launchers that had fired this morning had emitted radar and communication signals during their preparation sequence. Signals that American signals intelligence assets, both space-based and airborne, had been collecting and geolocating since 3:19 a.m. when the launchers began their erection sequence. The launcher positions were known. The data was being packaged for transmission to theater commanders who would make decisions about the next phase of the operation. Those decisions, and what followed from them, are outside the scope of this account. What can be said is that mobile missiles are only mobile until they fire. After they fire, they have to reload or reposition. Either activity takes time and creates signatures. And American surveillance assets are very good at finding signatures. This is the strategic reality of the DF-21D in 2025. It is not a myth. It is not a bluff. It is a real weapon with real capability. And if American naval forces were operating with the defensive architecture of 1995 or 2005 or even 2015, it would be a different conversation. But they are not. The SM-3 Block IIA is not a 2005 weapon. The Aegis BMD network is not a 2005 system. The SBIRS constellation did not exist in 2005. The EA-18G Growler's jamming capability against terminal seekers was not mature in 2005. The integrated, distributed, multi-ship BMD architecture that surrounded Roosevelt this morning, 3 Aegis ships, pre-coordinated in overlapping sectors with redundant intercept solutions, is the product of 20 years of relentless engineering effort, specifically directed at defeating exactly the threat that China's Rocket Force attempted to employ this morning. China fired 8 ballistic missiles at the most powerful warship in the world. 7 were intercepted in the midcourse phase. The 8th found empty ocean because the ship it was looking for had moved 54 miles in 35 minutes and because the electromagnetic environment around it was too hostile for the seeker to function as designed. Roosevelt continued her transit. Her air wing flew its scheduled cycle. Her crew went about the disciplined, professional work of a carrier that has been told to hold its presence in the Western Pacific, and that intends to do exactly that. The DF-21D is China's answer to American carrier power. Tonight, the American carrier gave its answer back. Bye for now.